I came from the mud, there's dirt on my hands. Strong like a tree, there's roots where I stand. Oh, I've been running from the law. Hope they won't shoot me down soon. Try to catch me howling at the moon. Try to catch me howling at the moon. Try to catch me howling at the moon. Try to catch me howling at the When it rains, it pours. Water's up to my chin. Won't stop fighting to the very end. Many men try to reach it.
Time for the moist run. Alright, that's what I'm talking about. What's up, dudes and dudettes? Check it out. We're going to be doing something special today. Another Josh takeover. So we're back here at CBK to show you guys something absolutely amazing. So we've been wanting to do this episode for a couple of weeks now, and Josh set up an amazing setup. We'll go ahead and give you like a pan of this setup here. But this species of Uromastyx, so we're going to show you a couple of different types of Uromastic. There's a lot of different species that you have out there, running from large to a very small size. Like you got the Tomasai that has more of a club tail. So all of Uromastyx are going to have this feature right here. That's going to tell you what a Uromastic is right there. So that's the most notable feature of the Uromastic, is that big spiny tail right there. Now that big spiny tail could be used for a couple of different things. Number one, it's very tough, very solid. These guys are rock dwellers, so they're definitely going to be staying inside of you're going to see kind of their environment once we show you the cage here. But the environment is definitely a rocky area, so you're going to find these guys in rocky outcrops. They're going to be digging in, they're going to be burrowing, they're going to be basically shoving themselves in. So their structure on the outside is very, very tough. So they have tough skin on top. I got these tough little feet, big old crunchy little face here, and then relatively sweet disposition on all these guys. I don't think I've ever seen a Uromastic that's angry. And just like the episode that we did the other day with those little Hyrax things, if you haven't seen it, go back a couple episodes. We were at Treetops the other day with some Hyrax, and just like the Hyrax, these guys, when you have babies, when you breed these guys, they eat the adults' shit as well. And the reason being is, again, it gives the beneficial bacteria for those babies to thrive, especially in the areas that they're at. What a lot of people don't know is locale to locale. How can I explain this in the easiest way? So locale to locale, so if I go catch, let's just use Florida. So if I caught an iguana down south by the Everglades city out there, like way, way down south, and I catch an iguana down there, and if I were to bring that, I'm not going to do it FWC, I swear to you. I swear to you. This is just an analogy. But if I were to take one from down south and reintroduce it into a population here up north, there is a solid chance that it could be carrying some parasites that are more localized to down south. And then if I release that iguana down here, it could spread those parasites, and the ones up here may not be able to deal with those parasites as well as the ones down there where that parasite is localized down south. Vice versa, if I brought one from up north all the way down south, I'm going to have the same problems. These guys right here, when they're growing up, especially in the areas that they're in, whatever locale that they're bred at, they're going to be eating mom and dad's poop, so it's going to help the inside. It's going to help them, number one, digest their food, and it's also going to help them with the beneficial bacteria to fight off whatever endoparasites are going to be inside of this guy. So you have your I don't even know if that's the right word to say, endoparasites. I know there's ectoparasites, internal parasites basically is what I'm trying to get at. So you're always going to have hookworms, pinworms, coccidia, this, that, and the other, but the bodies generally can deal with that on their own in the wild. So obviously they don't have a doctor to go to, so they have to get by. Eating the poop from the parents gives that beneficial beneficial, if I could speak today, beneficial bacteria to kind of get them started and get them motivated to go in the place that they're at. So it helps build up that bacteria to fight off whatever's going on there, and they're gonna have, like if you were to test any of these wild-caught adults, they're gonna have some sort of worms, they're gonna have some sort of parasites, but their bodies are able to deal with that until stress comes. Once you have an animal that's stressed out, what happens is the immune system shuts down a bit, and then it's able to, then all those bacteria, whatever bacteria and or parasites that you have inside the animal is then allowed to flourish because the immune system is kicking down, the animal is stressed out, and then at that point in time, that's when you start having problems. So not necessarily an issue if your animal has parasites, but it is an issue if your animal has parasites and then gets stressed. That's what causes the problems. So once the stress comes, then the problems comes. It allows that bacteria and or parasites to then be extremely prolific and produce like a wildfire inside the animal, and that's when you start to see the sickness. Now this is a little tiny munchkin of what we're about to show you. So the Egyptian Uromastic, one of the largest Uromastyx, I believe it is the largest Uromastic. We're going to show you here in a second its little counterpart, but this is a little tiny baby and he's as sweet as can be. So this is another shop mascot. This one's not going anywhere, but there are many of these available for you, and they're going to be hatching out some of their own because they got some gravid females in. They have those eggs incubating right now, so in a few months you're going to be able to have little tiny babies of these if you want them at CBK. But we're going to move on here in a second, and I'm going to show you guys what's available right now. So especially for anybody that watches out there that's in a zoo setting, definitely pass this along to your higher ups there. It's an animal that hasn't come in a while. So these used to come in all the time. You used to see the Egyptian Uromastyx all the time, and then we stopped seeing them for probably like 10 years, especially the size that you're about to see. I haven't seen this size come in an extremely long time. So I myself, especially for the new property and everything, I'm gonna try and work something out for Josh. He's got plenty of them over here, but I'm gonna have him hold me back a nice big pair so that I can set something up for him, kind of like Josh has set up here. And Josh went above and beyond this time. He blew me away with the setup, so let's show you that. I'm gonna go put this guy away. I'll be right back. Boom. Boom. All right, so check it out, dudes, dudettes. I'm not sure where Brian's gonna make his magic here, but we're gonna show you this enclosure here. We're gonna show you this massive enclosure that they turned around. It took a full day, it took a full work day, and it only took Shane throwing up once, right? Right. Only one time he had to throw up to do this. So that's what goes into it, ladies and gentlemen. You want to really get to work and you really want to get your animals set up properly, then sometimes you gotta take one for the team and you gotta throw up. So one thing about these guys that I will say is, number one, the way that you see them set up here is exactly how they should be set up. So I'll say for these guys, you're at like I could say that this is a beginner species because you could get a small one and raise it up, and then you don't need exactly 16 feet, but for the amount of animals that they have, of course they chose the larger enclosure. Everybody's got a lot of space, they can move around. But the big part about these guys, and what's often missed with these guys, is number one, like a good diet, a good varied diet. So these guys get greens, they get carrots, they get mixed greens, and then they get the lentils, they get, I believe they're gonna be doing millet too. A lot of times people will keep baby Uromastyx on millet for them to have like a bedding to sit on, but then they can also eat that shit too, so that works. But for these guys, what you're gonna need is super high heat. So they have, is this thing on? Are you on? There's no way this is on. Let's see. Shit, if we can help Josh out here. Yeah, I think it was just, there we go. Now it's on. Yeah, lucky I was here to check that out. Okay, so super high heat for these guys. So I would say a good basking temperature for these guys. And the way they set up this enclosure is perfect because you have all these little rocky outcrops and stuff, and then you have all this flat space, and then you have all these little hides, nooks, crannies, and all that good stuff. Then, if they want to, they can climb up, they can get hotter, colder, they can pretty much choose wherever they want to be. So for any cold-blooded reptile, you want the gradient. You want a gradient, and when I say that, what you want is that nice medium area, so you don't want it to be too cold on one end and you don't want it to be too hot on the other end. But a good temperature gradient basically means that you're going to be at your lowest spot where the animal can handle. So you're going to look at your geographical range of these guys. You're going to want to get as much information as you can. And when I say research, for me, research usually lasts about a month, 2 months to do some really, really good research. And in the next episode with some pythons, you're going to figure out why it's very important to do an extended amount of research. So you want to do really a deep dive on this stuff. You want to go into the captive care. You want to take a bunch of different care sheets. You want to put all those together, find out what information is matching, what information isn't, and then you want to double check those facts on where these guys come from. So if you check the geographical range of these guys, and then you can actually go through. And what I like to do is go through the entire process, like what their winters look like, what their summers look like, the whole 9 yards, what their climate is, like the agricultural zoning of the area itself, to find out, you know, all year long what your climate's going to be, what your highs are, what your lows are, is it dry, is it arid, is it humidity, like what the deal is, and then put all of that together with your captive care sheets and build your own based off of common sense and the research that you had done for a couple of months. You'd be able to put together a solid piece of information to be able to know exactly how to care for these lizards. So good gradient for these guys, obviously it's probably going to be about 80 degrees on a cooler end of the cage, and then they can decide to go all the way up. And then this thing is like a super heat bulb, so it's a radiated heat bulb. They got these guys here. A couple of weeks ago we've been trying these guys out. These are actually really, really good. So they don't put off the light. So we have lights everywhere else, and then we have our UVB strips across the top. Definitely super important for these guys here and any lizard that's going to be basking in the sun actively during the day, like the Uromastyx. Even though they stick in a rocky outcrop, they're going to be going in and out of the sun, and you definitely need this here for their D3. So if you don't have plenty of UVB, you're gonna have metabolic bone disease, you're gonna have issues, you're gonna have issues with eating, digestion, you're gonna have issues especially with if you're doing any breeding. Once these guys give their eggs out, they need to be able to metabolize that calcium properly, and they're not going to be able to do that without plenty of UVB. So you see they stripped the entire 16 feet of this cage with all UVB across the top, and then they have their heat spots all different, so they can choose where they want to be. So at some of these points you're probably going to have upwards of 120 to 130 degrees for their heat spots. And I know that sounds hot, but even on a cold day here in Florida, you can go out to a rock and you can get your temp gun and you can point that temp gun on a rock. It could be 60 degrees outside and you could have 115 degrees on a rock because the sun's beating down on that. So same with these guys, you want them to have the ability to choose where they want to go so that they're cold-blooded. You want them to be able to thermoregulate properly. So without thermoregulation properly, this species in particular can go downhill relatively quick. And as hardy as they are, you can mess these guys up relatively easily if you don't follow along. Now, you can see the enclosure that they have here. This is a perfect enclosure for these guys. So nice little rocky outcrops, like I said, little nooks and crannies, and something interesting. Watch this guy here. He's like, what do you got? What do you got? So that's my favorite part about these guys. Number one, they're fucking giant. They're huge. This isn't like, let me see if I can get a big guy out here. You're pretty big. Let's get you. Come here, you. Alright. So you see, Jesus, look how big that is, dude. And I am 6'4", so I got long arms. So you can tell right there, that thing is probably a solid 2.5, almost 3 feet there for Uromastyx, the largest species of Uromastic that you could possibly find out there. And these were wild caught, and again, haven't been brought in a long time. So the coolest part about these guys is look at the disposition. Like, they're not running, they're not trying to get away, they're just kind of chill, they just kind of hang out. They're not look at this thing. Look at this thing. This thing is out of the wild, caught. Not even interested in biting whatsoever. So very sweet disposition. That's why I say beginner to intermediate. Intermediate comes with the enclosure and just setting it up properly, but as far as beginner, I could say that safely because these guys are extremely sweet lizards. Why? I have no earthly idea. I don't know if it's because of the predators where they come from. Maybe they don't have very many, especially because they have their rocky outcrops to be able to hide in constantly. So they're really not afraid of too much. We see that oftentimes. Another lizard, like when I was young that I researched, was the Sailfin Dragon, and because of where they came from, there wasn't a lot of people moving around, there wasn't a lot of people in the area, so when you would pass one in the wild, it would pretty much do the same thing and kind of look at you and not really move, not really run away, and more inquisitive than anything else. So it seems like these guys, as far as predators go, because they'll stuff themselves, watch, literally try and get themselves into the tightest spots. So oftentimes people will come in and they'll think their Uromastic is stuck or hurt because it's wedged in between a rock, or it'll be pressed up against the glass, but they do like a nice tight spot when they go and hide. But you can see all across. We'll go see the other side real quick, and then I'm gonna bring you guys out some babies. Different species, but some babies. It's funny too. So that's the side we were on. Now we're on this side. It's the only pet store you can go to, and have to like literally go to the other end of the room to get to the other side of the cage. But you can see these guys, and Josh has been observing them for a couple of weeks, and 100% these guys are available. So if you guys want to contact CBK, same as always, links are in the description. You guys can talk to Josh, Madison, Carlos, Shane, the twins. Everybody's here to help you out, and they will point you in the right direction. So even if you haven't had one of these before and you have some worries, they will help you 100% all the way through. Everything that you need, everything that you got to get, they can produce that for you, and then on top of that, they'll give you the information that you need that you're lacking from this video, and then also, again, research. But Josh has been observing these guys for a while, and he's noticed that at different times of the day, you have like different groups that are coming out. So it seems like everybody's kind of grouped up on this side, then you have a bunch grouped up on this side. So I'll guarantee you what'll happen, and there's pretty much good amount of heat back here. So these guys are tucked in. So you got your bold guys over there, and that's your bigger ones. And I'll guarantee you if we pull some of these guys out, these guys are gonna be a little bit more skittish. That's why they're in the back. Of course, you're gonna prove me wrong. And a little bit smaller. But he says they'll come out at different points throughout the day. But again, look at this, man. Super sweet little lizards, man. It's like no biting, no fighting, none of that stuff. They're completely relaxed. What's up, bud? Come here, yo. Come here. Come. And another thing with that tail too is they can use it, so if they were being caught out in the wild, they'd literally pin that tail around a rock. And these things are rock solid. It's almost like scoots on an alligator. So they'll literally curl it around a rock so you can't pull them out. And then if they're battling with one another, which they will do, ladies and gentlemen, so you gotta be careful. Like when you look at these guys and you see these little scars, a lot of it's probably just from rubbing on the rocks, but if you look on the face of some of these guys, you're probably gonna see some little scrappy dappy doos. Let's see if we can get any. I don't see any. There was one that I saw a little earlier on. But these guys will scrap it out, so you have to have plenty of space, and you don't want to overcrowd your lizards. But as far as the Uromastyx go, one of my favorite species. Why? Because this is the largest species that you can get. And we have not had the ability or the pleasure of having these in the state. And shoot, man, it's probably been like 8 to 10 years. They always float around because you have some people breeding them out there, so you'll always have the ability. But to get them this size, no way. No way in hell. So let's go look at a few other species that they have here at CBK and see what other kind of Uromastyx you guys can get yourselves into. Boom. Dude, between the end button on a live stream and a damn cage, like fucking fingers are not made for this. I can do this. I can do this, people. I can do this. Alright, so these guys were just fed, and you can see here, here's a proper little diet for these guys. So you got little lentils in there, little cut greens, some carrots in there, all that good stuff. But they love these little lentils. I bet this guy will eat one right now. You want that? You want that little lentil, bro? You want the lentil? This right here. You can have it. Ate the lentil. Ate that lentil. I know it's confusing because you can only see my big ass fingers, but it's there. I promise you it's there. Go ahead. Nom, 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 nom. And this is a different species.
I don't even know if
you want it, buddy. You just want the finger. You just want to come out and hang out? You can come out and hang out. Come on, buddy. Alright, so this is a different type of Uromastic. Now, they have an extremely wide range as far as Uromastics go. I think my favorite would be the Thomasai, and Josh had some in the shop not too long ago. Unfortunately enough, those are gone. Those are the ones with the big fat club tails. So generally Uromastyx have these long tails, but they all have that similar scute-like look, almost like the alligators. Now the Ornate Uromastic, I think I called this a Malley. It's not a Malley. It's an Ornate Uromastic. So the Ornate Uromastics are highly sought after because of the colors that they get. Now the sand inside the enclosure is definitely going to dull the colors down. These guys though, being dimorphic, you can tell males from females relatively easily. So the males are going to have that big beautiful blue color, and then the females are going to be a little bit more drab, but still just as gorgeous with this orange. But I'm sure if I flip this around, so we're going to look at these femoral pores right here. Femoral pores are going to be right there. So if you look right next to the vent there and you look on the legs, and this is true for iguanids too, so if you're looking at any iguana species, you can generally look at the femoral pores here. So you see these large femoral pores, those little spots on the side, those little enlarged scales. And then if we look at this mama right here, you're going to see a fairly reduced set or non-existent set of femoral pores. Now they're still there, so you still see these little dots, but very, very faint. But with some species like the ones that we just saw behind us, a little bit harder to tell. There is, I'm not going to say like a true dimorphic deal. Sexually dimorphic means that the males look one way and the females look another way. So oftentimes you see that in like birds of paradise. Birds of paradise, you're going to have these gorgeous males because they have to be that way so they can attract a female. The female's a little bit going to be a little bit more drab in color, but you can tell male from female because of the sexual dimorphism. So very easy to be like, okay, male, male, female. We got some action going on here, bro. I got some action. So this is a little Niger Uromastic. So coming from a close range of the Egyptians, and these guys might even intertwine as far as range goes. I'm not 100% sure. I'll pull those guys out after they're done eating. That's one that we just treated. This little girl right here. Actually, probably a boy right there. We'll check though. This is probably a female right here. But the Niger Uromastics a lot of times get bright yellow all the way down the back, especially during breeding season. But these guys right here were just treated. This guy's a honker at this point. Got another honker up here. And then it looks like the boy on the bottom there is starting to catch up, starting to eat a little bit. But that one won't be available just yet. All of these guys have been treated, so this guy's going to turn around relatively quickly. You see these guys are already turned around, but they just came out to the floor. So if you guys do want to purchase these guys, you can call in, but they will not release these until they're 100% ready to go. So he's getting there. I'll pull that guy on in a second. And then we got our guys up here, like I said. So the Ornate Uromastic, and this sand here is kind of drowning out some of the color, and also they're shedding. But these boys, dude, when I tell you that this guy's got a little scarring, we'll use this little guy for a perfect little example. But when I tell you that these guys get some amazing aqua blues on these things with some bright yellow, that's why these guys are so highly sought after. Number one, again, the disposition on your Uromastic is much like a bearded dragon. You just need them a lot hotter and a lot drier. A bearded dragon can take some humidity. These guys are coming from areas where it's just desert dry all the time, but you can see how inquisitive these guys are. You want the nub? You want the little nubbies? You want the little nubbies? Extremely sweet little lizards though, so definitely a good option for a beginner to intermediate setup. And obviously, just like everything else, you want a nice little spread, and then you want the ability for them to get to the cool side and the hot side. But as you can see, most of the Uromastics will generally stay to the hot side about 95% of the time. They like it hot. They like it hot. So we got these guys. I wish we had a couple more species to go through with you. If you guys go ahead and do the research and you look up Uromastics, you can see the tremendous amount of species and the wide range of these guys. I kind of almost don't even want to bother you guys. I'm going to pop this. And I'm going to try not to bother them because we just treated these guys. Like I said, God, I hate these guys. Is there like a technique that I'm missing here? Am I missing something?
It's called nails.
Oh, I need to see the nub then. He's a little nubby.
Oh, it worked.
Hey, bud. So these Nigers are really cool. They get like, you get this little orange on their face. I'm kidding, that's carrot. That's just carrot. You just got mushy carrot on you. So these guys we'll get like this big yellow banding across the back of them. This one's starting to get it already. So when they're full grown adults, you just have a big yellow lizard, comparable to the size of these guys behind us that we just did, the Egyptian Uromastyx, and then close range coming from Nigeria, and then obviously Egypt over here. But the range isn't just that small locality of space. That's a wide range of these guys. But these guys get comparable in size, but nowhere near as big as the behemoths that we showed you back behind us. They have one that they kept called Kong. And Kong is a beast. I have not been able to meet him yet because he never fucking comes out. That might have been Kong actually that we pulled out in the beginning. I would have to get Josh to tell me, but he has a picture of him. And these things are absolutely massive. So, bar none, the coolest Uromastyx that you could possibly ever have. Like, legit, 100%. Definitely gonna have some of these at the new farm, the new location. Got 2 more weeks to go before we get shit rolling over there, so super excited about that. All right, let's end this episode like we end every other episode, and let's feed a mascot. And then off to the next. Boom. Who should we feed? All right, so, psych, let's not feed a mascot since Shane's already here doing some feeding. There he is.
What's happening?
There you go.
How you doing, guys?
He's over here taking care of everybody in the shop. Look at these guys. He's got your yellow Melinus here, or your Quince monitors, or Varanus Melinus, however the hell you want to say it. Either way. This is one of the species that we showed you guys last time. Looks like there's a couple more add to the bunch there, but look at these guys go. Dude, like little velociraptors. So obviously Shane's dusting the crickets. What are you using? Let's give a little plug to something. Yeah, we'll call it reptile. So I like the reptile pink label, is one of my favorites, but anything with D3 in it is going to give you the supplement that you want. And with the monitors, generally speaking, we don't absolutely need UVB, but we provide UVB to literally everything. It doesn't hurt, it only helps. Look at this guy back here, he's got a tube in his mouth at the same time. Or is that just one giant honker? I think he's got 2. 3, son of a bitch. But this is what you get when you come to CBK. You got Shane over here literally taking care of stuff 24/7 over here, and everything's getting fed, everything's getting watered. They'll come back, they'll miss these guys, proper humidity, proper everything, so you get a well-started lizard every time you come here. So I figured instead of feeding the mascots, and Shane's already doing that work for us over here, we get to watch a bunch of dinosaurs eat at the same time, and they're really going after it. Did you just try and
had a cricket rolling on me, and I was like, it jumped on you.
Brian grabbed my ass.
Yeah.
That's what happened. It's okay, bro. Oh, there it is. Super buns. That's what I'm talking about. All right. So we're watching. So look, this guy's gonna pop out and get another one. Let's see if I can throw it. Direct shell. Oh, dude.
Good luck.
Sometimes I just pray for normal hands. Oh, he's got one in the back there. Watch this guy right here. This guy's slamming it against the wall. Just ravenous little dudes. There, like little velociraptors. And this is one of those species that I told you guys doesn't get that big, relatively easy care. Obviously well started here at CBK, and I figured rather than feeding the mascot, Shane's already doing it, might as well get a good shot of a bunch of animals eating at the same time rather than one, right? All right, my dudes and dudettes. You guys can contact, like I said, links in the description below. You got this guy here all the time with his little girlfriend, Madison, and they will help you with whatever you guys need, as well as Carlos, Josh, Ahmed, all the team back here, the twins. So anything that you guys need, they got it. Beautiful big old black dragon over here. I think this one's new. Either that or I've just been walking past it over and over again. But we got some new cool stuff coming in. We're gonna show you. Oh shit. Let me just stop real quick. Show you guys something that you guys probably have never seen. Vastly underrated species here. I don't know if I have the keys for this one. We were gonna end the episode, but I didn't know they had the shelter stick.
What is that, like the Basilisk from Harry Potter?
So yeah, pretty much. I think it looks a lot like that. Maybe they used the shelter stick for it. Is that the right key? Not even close, Shane.
The round one.
It is the round one? Can never find the hole. Alright, one of you bastards has to work. Oh, I just didn't put it in far enough. That's what she said. Alright, so gotta be really careful with these guys because it is not a snake, ladies and gentlemen. This is a Uromastyx. And again, ooh, they got a little pair in here. Oh, you're gonna be a mean one too? Oh, it's an angry little Uromastyx. Alright, so this is not a snake, dudes. This is a lizard. This is a giant European legless lizard, or the Uromastyx. I like to call it that because that's a scientific name and it sounds really creepy. Are you gonna bite? You gonna be a biter? So, just like most lizards, these guys can drop their tail. You have to be extremely careful when handling these guys. I don't know if I would call this kind of like an intermediate advanced thing. It's just such a particular animal. You don't really get to see these often, which is why I just paused at the end of the video to start up a new conversation here. These were actually one of my favorite growing up. You didn't really get to see them a lot. Every once in a while you would cross them in a reptile show. Now, these days, a little bit more often, we're seeing more and more. I think they're kind of catching on a little bit, and I want to be really careful just because I don't want him to pop his tail. So the first half of this body, you're going to see that right there on the side, and then right here is the end of the lizard. So the rest of this is all tail. So this can be dropped just like any other lizard, and they do it relatively easy, just like our counterpart here in Florida. We have the eastern, they call it a glass snake. So it's the eastern legless lizard, or glass snake if you want to be a dick about it. Oh, you are gonna bite. Gonna bite? You could bite, it's okay, bud. So they do drop their tails relatively easily, so we want to be extremely careful. It is kind of a spunky little species here, especially this guy here, so we're going to be really careful. But these guys are really, really cool. Everybody thinks they're a snake. They are not a snake. This is 100% a lizard. So basically, if you look at your skinks, a lot of your skinks have big legs, then you get to your like sandfish, it gets even smaller legs, and then you get to these guys here, which I would want to say that they were kind of like in a skink family, because the legless lizards basically over time started off as like little skinks, started getting smaller and smaller legs, realized that there was no need for it, and then you got these little spots on the side. Nope, that's wrong. I don't think that's the same species. There's one species of these guys that you can kind of see vestigial parts that look like old legs, but that's not what that is. These are the spores. Just like if you look at the bottom of a snake, there's two little spores on the side there. But an absolutely gorgeous little species. Another little knick-knack that you can get from Cold-Blooded Kingdom here. Probably can't find these guys in too many places, too many different locations, and quite frankly, oh, well, these are already sold, so you can't buy these. But at least you got to see them here. So if you guys want these in the future, definitely call CBK. Maybe they'll get you some more. Not surprised that they're sold, my guys. You rarely get to see these guys. Go ahead, bud.
Spiders in
Go ahead, little boy. Oh, yes.
Forest.
So this all the way back tail that can be dropped. Pretty fucking interesting, my dudes. That's what I'm talking about. All right. Oh, we get to feed them too? Oh, that's what I'm talking about.
Savages.
There you go, little savage man. Oh, look at this shit. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Death roll. You don't even have a cricket yet, bud. Yeah, that's just mulch. Watch, there's one in the back here too. Put a cup on here. I don't want to overload it just yet. There he goes. Bomb. You were accurate. I don't know what happened to old death roll over here. This one was extremely accurate. You want more in there, Shane?
Go for it.
Ah, you are just terrible at this, bud. I still love you. Get him. There you go. You kind of got him. You got a whole bunch of other stuff in there too. There you go. Figure it out. Watch. He's going to work out all that mulch in his mouth, and then just the cricket goes down. Smart little dudes.
Here, I'll go get the forest floor ready.
Dun, dun, dun. Here, you want it right out of the bucket, bud? Here you go, bro. I do it at home, bro. I drink it right out of the jug, bro. Right out of the jug. Get in there. Look at this little girl coming up behind me here. Dude, you guys all want it out of the bucket? Jeez. Lazies. Don't fight. Oh, come on. Don't beat each other up. Alright. You guys spread out. Here's some crickets for you over here. You eat that. You go over here. You eat some crickets over here. Did you want this whole thing in there, Shane, or not?
Yeah, that's perfect.
That's good?
Yeah, it's good.
Alright. I'll take my paycheck on Friday. Thank you. Alright, dudes and dudettes. Thank you, Shane. Much appreciated. So we kind of did feed some mascots. Only these mascots are somebody. These are Chelsea's mascots. So Pretty cool though. You guys got to see some stuff to eat, but that's what you get when you get the Cold-Blooded Kingdom. You get some mofos that are already treated, ready to go, eating, feeding, and ready for new homes. So definitely hit up Josh for all your reptile needs. Thank you guys for hanging out. Thank you to the Patreons out there. I want to give a shout out to Amanda Lynn. Happy birthday. It was their birthday July 9th. And then also, on the next episode, we are going to be announcing somebody's TikTok, and like I said in the previous live, if some of you guys didn't catch it, for our Patreons out there that have the correct tiers, we will give you a shout out for any of your social media, if you have a TikTok, Instagram, if you have a YouTube, anything that you guys wanted to shout out. So that's on tier, I'm looking at you, Brian.
Oh, that's tier 5.
So tier 5. So if you have tier 5, you can get some shout outs. Amanda Lynn, happy birthday. I hope July 9th was a good one for you. We posted something for her on Instagram if you guys want to go say something nice to her. And then, like I said before, guys, we got one more coming out. We're going to be shouting out a TikTok tune as soon as we can find out what that tag name is. So that'll be out on the next video. But if you guys want that, tier 5 on the Patreon. And thank you to all the Patreons and supporters out there. We love you guys. Boom.